Hi, Mona. Thank you so much for joining us as our first guest speaker on the Early Career podcast. I'm really excited because this is like a full circle moment. You being my best friend, launching this podcast for me was a huge passion and was starting our careers together. So this kind of feels like a full circle moment. So thank you so much for being here and sharing your insights with us. And so this episode is going to be focused on AI. So I thought it's best to bring someone like you on board so that we can all hear about what you have to say from your experience as an AI specialist across different big tech companies, and for us to hear your journey, how it started, and did you see yourself as in that role, and also for our audience to like hear some use cases about the industry, how AI is being used today, and things like that. So, thank you so much. I guess we can start off with some introductions if you want to introduce yourself and take it from there.
Yeah, hi Priyanka. Thank you for inviting me here. And yeah, it's a honor to be invited by you. I feel incredibly blessed to have you as my best friend and guide. Thank you for creating this podcast program where you are going to invite people and you're going to talk about their career journeys and inspire others, which is amazing. Introduction about me: I am currently working as a senior generative AI specialist with Amazon SageMaker AI, which is a machine learning platform with Amazon. Previously, I was with Google as a generative AI specialist. And before that, I was at Amazon. And talking about early career, I did my bachelor's from India in computer science engineering. And I worked there as a Java developer for almost 3.5 years and then went for my master's program. So I did my master's from Georgia State University, CIS curriculum, Computer Information Systems. It was a short course, but I learned a lot. My focus was on big data and machine learning. Uh, like I have spent 8 years in machine learning and cloud computing, focusing on Google Cloud and Amazon. And I've written 2 books on AI. And
Wow.
I'm going to launch my third book today. It's a surprise for you.
Oh, wow. It's
Yeah.
today?
I want to announce my third book today podcast.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Congratulations.
This
So,
is special because it's for early career people too.
oh,
Yeah.
awesome. Congratulations. Now I know someone who's written 3 books. I feel special knowing that.
Thank you. This book is just, I keep hearing AI every time. And I'm writing this book after a long gap.
What's the book about? Title?
This book is about beginner's guide to building agents on AWS. Basically, this book will have 7 chapters where in 7 weeks you will learn how to build an agent from scratch.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know we will talk about AI and
Yeah.
LLMs and agents and
Yeah.
all of that. But before we go there, I also wanted our viewers to know how we met.
Yes.
I still remember when we joined Amazon or AWS together. Do you remember how we got introduced to each other?
I
Memories really
called
bad.
you because I was looking for a house. Said you don't want a roommate.
So I disowned you. No, yeah. You asked me if I know some apartment or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I called you and then I got your contact. So basically, we were part of the TechU program.
Yeah.
Priyanka, would you like to speak more about the TechU so that folks
Yeah.
who are listening may know
Yeah.
about this program?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, so by the way, Amazon, AWS, Google, Microsoft, all the big tech companies usually have what they call as a graduate program. Mona and I were fortunate enough to join the graduate program called TechU, and actually, we were the very first batch of
Yes.
that program. It was awesome. Like, we made some of the most wonderful memories, friendships. I mean, as you can see, 8 years after TechU, we're still so close and continued our friendship through so many different life phases. But apart from that, we also were able to like build our network of people. I started in a great team right after TechU. So if any of you are still in university, do look up graduate programs in these big tech companies because they will be looking to hire while you're still in college so that when you graduate, you already have a job through a program like this. So that's where Mona and I met. Coming back to our story, I think I don't remember that part exactly, but I think I remember I remember you were living in Arlington, right?
I think the first time we met was when we went for our TechQ trainings in Seattle, and we all were staying in a same hotel. I
Oh,
saw you
yeah.
came in a mini skirt. I clearly remember. And your pink cute bag. I do remember that. And then I was like, this is Priyanka. Who is this hot girl?
And I think one of the wonderful things about you, it's almost like everyone should have a friend like you because you're this textbook definition of a friend. Because you were always there for me, even when I don't think sometimes I wasn't there for you, or like you never measured any of our conversations or how many times I called you versus how many times you called me. Nowadays, people measure all these things and then sometimes they ruin good friendships. So you were one of those people who taught me not to measure things. And you always said, how does it matter who called whom, right? As long as we're talking. So I really appreciate that. And I remember how you helped me during the pandemic when I was living by myself in Toronto and you were in DC.
Moving from US to Canada, I think that should be a separate podcast where you can cover those insights.
Yeah.
It's not an easy job to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess so. But yeah, thank you for all that. And apart from you being a wonderful friend and an author, I think I would really be interested in hearing your journey into TechU and then how did you get into AI and how did you get into this role that you are in today?
Say it was not easy for me. The challenge was after my master's, I wanted to be a data scientist
Mm.
and I applied to all data science roles. I did got a call from Amazon for a data science position, but I couldn't make it honestly because I didn't have PhD in my
Mm.
resume. You're competing with PhD folks when you go for these AI research roles. It was the same pattern even in Google when I wanted to go to DeepMind and get into the real meat of AI research piece. You need to have a PhD. So
Okay.
that is strong criteria.
Hmm.
However, the roles were in Priyanka. We were fortunate to be introduced to a technical field community where you can deep dive. Being a solution architect means you need to know everything in architecture, networking, security, compute, storage. In our roles, we were also, I think the role pushed me to get into AI. I joined the technical field community, and then there was this, we all were associate solutions architect L4. So there was an L4 associate ML solution architect role, which I transitioned to after 2 years working at Amazon. I took that opportunity. I just took it like because
Fine.
it is my passion. Even if I'm not a data scientist, I can still be a solution architect focusing on machine learning.
Right. And did your education in your master's where you had machine learning as part of it, did that help when you took on this role or you just kind of started from scratch?
It did help because I was introduced to all the algorithms during my master's, machine learning, regression, recommendation engine. I did build, and during my master's, I used to participate a lot in Kaggle competitions.
Okay.
That was fun because I come from a Java background. You know, you write
Yeah.
so much code and you build enterprise application and you don't see the end result.
Mm.
But
Right.
with machine learning, with very small code, you are seeing magic. You know, this thing is, oh my God, I'm predicting future values. You know, it's
Yeah.
magical.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to know what's in future.
Yeah.
It's like you are an
Yeah.
astrologer or something.
That's true. I mean, yeah, it does feel like magic for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, so speaking of coding, how important is it, in your opinion, for someone who is studying to know coding to get into AI roles today? Is coding really important? And if so, how much of it is important?
It is important. I won't lie about it because you should know basic Python coding. Because if you don't know basic Python coding, it will be tough. I'm not saying that you build enterprise applications because I do have data scientists in my team and they are pretty efficient with coding and able to debug the challenges. And they also know, other than Python, or machine learning framework as well, like TensorFlow, PyTorch. So one of the framework you need to know very well if you want to get into this space, and also the basics of machine learning because basics is what builds the foundation of AI.
So what's the extent of how much someone needs to know coding? Like there's people who are very competent in coding like yourself versus someone who may not be very competent but still has an interest in AI. what recommendation do you give there? Because I'm sure there's like a spectrum of different roles within AI where some roles need some
Yeah.
amount of coding and some need more, probably, right?
I would say for solution architect role, there is no coding interview. You don't need to know coding. But for a data science role, you would need a coding, right? Similarly, for a project manager or product manager role, you don't need to know coding, but you need to know other things like how the product works. Even in AI, there are various phases, but if you know coding, that really empowers you. I think
And
it's always good to know something challenging. You know, coding is challenging. Nobody enjoys coding. We have AI doing coding, but that's a myth. So,
Okay, interesting. Because we're seeing all these tools generating code. What is your take on that? How mature has it become in terms of AI generating code and production ready code?
I would say that even still in production ready codes, you use AI to assist you with coding. It's called assistance. In coding, the logic part, that is still algorithms are developed by humans, the complicated algorithms. However, the assistance, like suppose I don't remember Java architecture. So in Java, there are various classes.
Yeah.
Even in Python, there are various classes, and I don't remember a lot of things when I'm switching from Java to Python, right? So I need an assistant who can do that for me. So it's making my life easier as a developer or as a coder. But the second thing is that it's not necessary that code will work.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
You also need to know the basics like what is object-oriented programming, that AI will build an app, but how you need to use some knowledge to navigate it. So basically, it's called an assistant.
So basically, what you're saying is that you do need to have some formal education in your undergrad or master's that has something to do with computer science or information systems,
Yes.
because that'll give you some fundamentals of, object-oriented programming and data structures, algorithms, to then take on in the future any AI role.
Yep.
Is that okay?
Yeah. I
Gotcha.
feel that can open a lot of opportunities for you.
Right. What does your day-to-day look like with respect to your role? And what are the most recent projects or use cases that you've been working on or that you're seeing industries adopt in general with respect to AI?
I would say if you talk about AI, mostly my focus is on model customization, fine tuning, large language model. Most of the customers I see, they are using Amazon Nova, which is like similar to Google has Gemini, OpenAI has GPT-5. Amazon has created its proprietary foundation model called Nova. My work is mostly with customers fine tuning the Nova model. It's not that exciting, but the results are exciting. Some customers are basically using it for innovation, in industry where you can't even think of meta materials is kind of example.
Right.
With fashion also. So it can be anywhere, creating brand images.
Right.
So
For folks that might still be in college and are looking for like a school project, a college project where they have to use AI and implement it in some real world use case, what would you say to them?
please wait for my book. You will have a project handy.
And how do our viewers find this book?
Will be in preview soon in December first week, and first two chapters will go out. It is available in Pact. Pact Publication is publishing this book.
Yeah.
However, it will be also available on O'Reilly platform.
Okay. Is it
Viewers,
Amazon?
it's my personal project.
Okay, gotcha.
It
Got
is
it.
about Amazon. The goal is that you learn the basics, and then in 7 weeks you are building it.
Oh, perfect. Does
Yeah.
it also have details around fine-tuning versus RAG architecture?
It is more on agents. So because RAG is an old concept now.
I feel like I was just working on RAG 6 months. By the way, for those of you who are wondering what this is, RAG is retrieval augmented generation. Mona, you want to define that and explain the difference between RAG and fine-tuning?
RAG is a way where you don't need to change the model weight. These LLMs have drawbacks. What are the drawbacks? They hallucinate. And second is, suppose I ask a question that who won a Nobel Peace Prize in 2026. LLM is trained on 2025 data. It will not know. This is where you create an RAG architecture without training a model. You will just say, hey, can you use this context from this
Data.
maybe database which has the information? that this person won the Nobel Peace Prize, and then the LLM will use that context with
Right.
augmented context from a vector store. Basically, it will
Yeah.
use
Yeah.
that advanced context to answer that question
Right.
because of limitations. While in fine tuning, you will have to actually train the complete model weights. So basically, you have to have a compute, which is a big compute, H100s, A100, which is expensive. I'm
Yeah.
not going to fine tune a model on my laptop.
Yeah.
I'm not that rich, Priyanka.
Are you?
No, I don't have $1 million to fine tune a model, and I don't have 1 million of data set to begin fine tuning.
I think you're on the path to that with 3 books published. I mean,
Nobody wants to read a technical book.
I'm sure people are going to want to read this one. I'm looking forward to it, especially since you mentioned it has a lot of beginner
Yeah.
material. I think that's very much needed, especially for people in their 20s still studying or just now trying to explore careers in AI.
Others read the book. They're all graduated and looking for jobs. So
Yeah.
I'm writing this book for them so that they can.
Yeah. No, that's great. I do have a question, which is a little bit more fundamental, I guess.
Yeah.
Because the term AI and then now generative AI is used very much interchangeably with machine learning or ML. What would, in your expert opinion, you say is the difference between machine learning and generative AI? Because that's something, even though I know it, I also feel like I want to know it again.
That was part of my third book with O'Reilly, which didn't happen.
Oh,
I'm not
really?
bragging. I'm being serious.
You should brag if women, I feel like we're not great at that. So yeah, you should brag if you've written it, right? So
I wrote this book with I got a O'Reilly book when I was working in Google. It's called Generative AI with Google Cloud. The first two chapters were published, and then things didn't work out, and my contract got cancelled. So basically, in the first chapter, we define what is AI. So AI is think like a bigger circle, which has everything. It has Gen AI and machine learning. And in machine learning, you have two types of machine learning: supervised machine learning, unsupervised machine learning. And generative AI comes into the AI picture. So in AI only, there is generative AI. This
okay,
is small circle.
got
And
it.
then large language model. You also have heard this term large language model and foundation model. So they all are a different circle, but everything is a part of AI. So
And
remember that supervised learning and unsupervised learning is machine learning,
okay,
and anything with deep learning. So you can think of deep learning is also part of machine learning, right? And transformer architecture comes from the deep learning. So basically, all the Gen AI things are part of deep learning, which is again part of machine learning.
right. There's a hierarchy,
Yeah.
and then neural networks then fall within deep learning.
Yes. It
Right.
is the basic of deep learning.
Okay.
So in my second book, I've covered all of these concepts very nicely. It's a professional study guide for Google Cloud Study professional machine learning engineer. And in the first three chapters, I've covered all the basics of machine learning. I use it for my own interviews. When I prepare for interviews, I go through those three chapters and
I
I'm done.
see. So you read your own book and
Yes.
you prepare. You're like, oh, I need to see how smart I need to remember how smart I am. Let me read what I wrote.
You forget these concepts, and that is why we should have a book which covers everything, makes you ready for interviews. And I do, in fact, I used my own book, retook the exam and passed it. Yeah.
Speaking of interviews, specific to AI and generally speaking, what advice would you give to early career candidates who are still studying or in the workforce but looking for their next job? What advice would you give for preparing them for a more AI focused interview, as well as any other advice you have?
Yeah, I would say learning is the key. If you like to read books, please go ahead and buy my books. If you don't like to read books, watch YouTube videos.
Hmm.
Pick up a course. There are so many online video courses, and
Yeah.
also get certified.
Hmm.
That
Yeah.
shows you have taken that extra. I mean, you and me, we both have, I don't know, so many certifications at certain time, remember?
Yeah.
We have certification
Yeah.
crazy. So
Yeah.
I would say do those things, and that will definitely add, like, think about how you can learn these concepts, be excited about it,
Yeah.
and then apply it in your life if possible.
Be curious in general, do courses, also maybe hands-on labs, and then certifications. That's good advice. Any certifications that come to mind Any names that you can recommend to people?
I would recommend AWS Associate Machine Learning
Okay.
and AI Practitioner,
And then there's one more that came out, right?
generative AI right now.
Okay.
Yeah. These are all AWS, but if you want to do GCP, so the professional machine learning GCP certification is pretty good.
Hmm.
It does cover all the basics and also about Vertex AI, which is their platform. But
Okay.
any certification you take, make sure that you learn the concepts of machine.
The
Yeah,
basic concepts,
yeah,
right?
that should be the
Yeah.
goal.
That's interesting you say that because I just posted the previous episode about talking about the foundations of AI, and I mentioned it there that it's so important to know the foundations and the
Yes.
fundamentals because like you could go really deep and look like you're the expert and have all these concepts in mind, but if you don't know the fundamentals, if you go to an interview and you don't know something that is complex, it's okay, but if you don't know the fundamentals, it's even worse.
Yeah,
You
it is
agree with
even.
that?
That is why I revise through my own writing.
So you're saying that even though you're an expert in AI, you
Yeah.
still prepare for your interviews with your own books.
I do. I would lie if I say no. I'm also a human being. I'm not an
Yeah.
LLM. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so, uh, everyone has something called imposter syndrome that we all deal with in different ways. How do you deal with imposter syndrome, or do you even have it? And if you do, how do you deal with it in your daily life? And then, do you have any tips and things that you've learned over the years to navigate some of the stress, feelings of self doubt, and things like that? Because I feel like all of us deal with that no matter how much of an expert we are in different areas. So I'd love to hear from you how you have been dealing with that over the years of your career.
I think the imposter syndrome is always there as a woman in my career because I've seen people who don't know as much as me getting ahead. Sometimes you question yourself,
Mm.
but then, like at this point of my life, I feel I don't feel stressed about those things. I feel that we can focus on that.
Control.
Yeah, what is in your control and just enjoy life. If today is AI, tomorrow is something else, we don't know.
Mm.
And there will be always like learning for me. So what I feel blessed with whatever I have achieved so far. And that is the way to deal with imposter syndrome. We feel blessed with whatever we have, friendships, relationships,
Grateful.
family.
But were you always like this? Because of course now we are in our 30s, and because we have some lived experience, we feel like maybe I know I'm making us sound really old, but you know what I mean? Like now we feel like okay, we've built enough
Yeah.
of something to kind of feel confident. But were you always
You know,
this person?
Priyanka,
Yeah.
in our roles, things change very quickly. We both have to go through it every day.
Hmm.
Especially as a solution architect in Google or AWS, new things come every day. And then you're like, oh my God, now I have to go and learn. Unlearning is the key. Unlearning is a process of life. Whatever you've learned, you'll unlearn next day and then you'll relearn it.
Yeah.
Unlearning drives you
Oh, yeah.
away from imposter syndrome because
Hmm.
if you feel you know everything,
Hmm.
then you're done.
And what is one thing you feel like you've unlearned to learn something new?
I would say every day I unlearn new things. I have a toddler now and I'm unlearning every day because of the toddler.
Mm. So he's teaching you
Yeah,
the
I think the machine learning in fun manner.
is it reinforced or is it supervised or unsupervised? I think it's unsupervised.
Yeah, it is unsupervised for now.
I know this is a technical focused discussion, but I also feel like there's a lot of psychological components that make us who we are and shape us. We've
Yeah.
had our own share of mental health challenges. I just wanted to quickly touch on because we don't talk
Mhm.
about that enough in the context
Yes.
of the totality of our life, right? And especially when we're talking about something technical or specific. So I wanted to change that. And in the interest of that, I wanted to ask you how, because I know you're the one who introduced me to meditation. If it weren't for you, I would have never done it and I would have never realized how amazing it is and how much it's changed my life. Can you shed a little light on that and maybe some advice you can give all of us on meditative practices to help with our
Yeah,
career?
I would say that previously when we joined Techio, we were so ambitious.
Yeah.
And we would work weekends, like especially I would work on weekends and every time and I'll be like so stressed. Like after 5 p.m. I'm like super stressed, and I'll call you, hey, I'm stressed out.
I know we
You
are
know that.
our classic vent sessions.
So basically, that is one way to relieve stress, to talk to someone, which we don't do these days enough. So
Yeah.
basically, having a buddy like you are my buddy.
Yeah.
So having a close friend helps. And second thing is meditation is the key. So basically, I was going through a very tough phase in my personal life, and that time, a colleague of mine, a very good friend now, introduced me to meditation. Initially, it was tough. I would never understand why
Mm.
we are meditating, but once I started getting deep into it, it gave me a lot of peace and clarity, and to value life as it is, and not to chase after
Mm.
what is going to be in future, what is going to be in past, living life in the present and in the moment. So that really helped me with 90% of the things. But even after meditation, stress and depression, anxiety can happen.
Yeah.
You need medical help, and take the medical help when you
Mhm.
need it. I would not say that if meditation is not working for you, just keep meditating. But if you need medical help, take it, because I know we don't talk enough, Priyanka, but
Yeah.
we should acknowledge this.
That
Yeah.
everyone has mental health issues and it's not
Yes.
a bad thing. And it's almost like a natural part of human existence, right? Human beings, we are so intelligent that we have the power to imagine things that don't even exist. And then we can create sorrows, new sorrows.
And they're in very high, I would say high stake jobs.
Yeah.
We both working at Amazon and AWS is not an easy thing. It's like people say outside that if you worked 1 year in AWS, it's like 10 years in some other company.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
both have to take care of our mental health.
And, I think for me, I feel like in my 20s, it was much harder to not be ambitious. Like I always wanted, and I know you were also like that, where we just wanted to conquer the world, right? Like,
I
right?
totally agree.
Yeah. In our 20s, the fire was burning.
Yeah.
And we wanted to do everything. To some extent, that may have caused some mental turmoil.
Yep.
And so I guess like our collective advice to everyone is, yeah, you can be ambitious, yeah, you can have your goals and all of that, but try to balance that with gratefulness for what you have in the present. Tomorrow you might be able to achieve your ambition that you dreamt of, but you might lose something else that you had in the past. Life is always a game of winning some and losing some. So we should appreciate what we have when we have it.
Life is like Game of Thrones. You never know.
You never know what's going to happen. And it's nice to hear from someone like you about it because, there's like these labels created around, okay, if you're a specialist in something, then you're just this person. But I wanted to portray you as a holistic person with all of life's
Yeah.
good and bad. And it's something that everyone experiences together.
Initially, Priyanka, we faced ageism in our career. I would be honest.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you faced it, but I did
did,
face
yeah.
ageism. Yeah.
No,
Why
talk
I
to me about
tend
it.
should I dye my hair white?
I think I already have white hair now, so I don't need to dye.
Now I do, but that time when we were young and in our
Yeah.
20s, we recently joined this big dream job,
Yeah.
and I faced ageism. I would not get those opportunities because I'm not old enough in the room.
And like giving advice to someone who is twice our age, right?
Yeah. Who will listen from this?
Yeah.
girl?
Yeah.
Is she smart enough?
Yeah. And so how did you
Imposter syndrome, that brings you, because when you go out, you're dealing with this smart crowd. Everyone is smart. And that is the imposter syndrome. We as a woman, and that is what leads to the stress, anxiety, because we are always chasing. Sometimes I feel why I'm writing these books. Maybe it is imposter syndrome. I don't know. I don't know.
I think a lot of people benefit from the knowledge you have to share. Hopefully that gives you some joy in writing what you have learned over the years, especially with ageism. Women in every profession
Yeah.
feel like we have to keep proving our worth, right?
Yep.
And I think that also creates a natural imposter syndrome. And then, when you have that, you even kind of get blamed for having that, right? So it's like,
It's like a loop.
Yeah, it's like a loop where you think you'll never win,
Yeah.
right?
I'm glad you agree that I faced ageism for a long time.
Yeah.
And now I don't face it because I'm old enough.
That's a really good topic to acknowledge because people who are hearing this, they are in their early career, in their 20s, age range. You will face this, but don't let that stop you. Don't let that hinder who you are. Don't let your age or any other biases stop you from being who you are. Another thing I remembered, Mona, was that women are still a minority in the
Yeah.
workforce and in tech in every industry right
Yeah,
now.
all women washrooms are empty in conferences.
That's one good thing. But and because of that, I wouldn't know how much makeup is enough. Can I put a darker lip color? Even
Oh
things,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I also think about the dress I should wear. Should I wear
Yeah.
pants? I like to
Yeah.
wear dresses, but I don't wear it because what if people think I'm trying to flaunt my dress?
Yeah. You know what?
How?
It's really funny how I heard this from another woman. She was like one of the executives in a company.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
someone like her is also saying that apparently she used to try to wear pants and
yeah,
shirts to kind of fit in, to kind of look like a man a little bit.
yeah. Exactly.
Right?
That's what I do. I just wear pants and
Right.
boring t-shirts because I want to blend in.
Yeah.
What can I do? I know I'm trying to change myself to blend in, but with women, it is truth. You have to
Yeah.
blend in to
Yeah.
survive. Otherwise, you'll get unnecessary comments.
I've
Yeah.
had people when I go to my industry conferences, these are executives of
Mm.
companies and they're
Yeah.
staring in a weird way. On one hand, you want to be confident and say, I deserve to be here, so I don't care about it. But on the other hand, you also care about it because you're like,
You do.
it's weird. I've definitely changed and I've tried to be myself as much as possible. So I dress up however I want in the sense that
Mm.
as long as it's professional, but I still want to be myself. If I want to wear a bright color, I wear it. If I want to wear bright lipstick, I wear. So I've tried to eliminate that bias for my own self, hoping that maybe people will start seeing more of it. In one of these conferences, I was wearing a red lip color. And then
Yeah.
another lady came to me and she was like, "Hey, you know what? I'm so glad you're wearing red lip color because I was debating if I should wear it or not." And I was like, "Huh." See, it's not just we.
It's we inspire other women around.
So
Be
I
the
guess
change you want to be
be the change
in
is
others. Yeah.
absolutely. And
Especially for young people transitioning into tech roles, what to wear, especially for women.
it still is. The thing is, you can't tell this to male coworkers in the workforce because they don't really get it. They'll be like, "Yeah, you can wear whatever you want," but can you? Men have a very standard dressing. For women, it's
Yeah.
not yet standardized in that
Yeah.
sense. So I guess it's still an ongoing debate about what you can wear, but I
Yeah.
guess
But yeah.
be yourself, right, as much as you
Yeah.
can. Dress professionally, but dress in things that you feel the most confident in.
Yes.
Because from dressing comes some sense of confidence that if you don't really have it, at least you have your dress to make you feel a little bit more
Yeah.
confident. Satin shirts make me feel very confident.
I want to steal your wardrobe, but I'm too big to fit in.
No, I'll get you one of the satin
Maybe
shirts
you
that
can
I'm
have a
talking about.
LTK channel and post all your links.
I think after the pandemic, my wardrobe has kind of gone down. Yeah.
I'm being honest, I was always inspired by your dressing sense and wardrobe. I loved seeing you in those dresses. That made me happy seeing
Oh,
you.
thank you.
So please continue doing whatever. So yeah, I think these
Thank
small things does make changes.
I really believe that you have to dress for the job that you want, not the job you have.
Yeah.
Because sometimes if you dress like an executive, you are treated like
Mhm.
one. If you want to be looked at as a leader, then you need to dress like a leader. And in some scenarios, and I think
Yeah.
especially for women, because we're having to prove so much of ourselves. If you can dress up, I would say that really helps to enhance your impression. As we're coming to the end of our episode, maybe one advice you want to give your younger self, and in that sense, all our viewers, one life advice
Yeah.
and one advice that is specific to AI and how can they upskill themselves or just anything that can
Yeah.
help them, go from 0 to 1.
Yeah, I mean, I would say for AI, one advice will be so tough to give. It's a tough question posing
Okay,
me.
give 10. I have no problem with that. We have time.
So I would say that again, learn and be curious. Try to learn the basics. Like the questions you covered today was great starting point. Like, what is the difference between Gen AI, and machine learning? A lot of people don't even know that.
Yeah.
Start from the basics. Spend time in learning about those differences and why. Why do you need AI? Why behind everything is important. Be curious. That is what I'm saying. Learn and be curious. And yeah, buy my books.
I'll
Sorry,
I'll make
it's
sure to
not
put
an ad.
link. No,
Not an ad.
no, I'll make sure to put the links of the books in the description so
Yeah.
viewers can buy
Yeah,
them.
it's not an ad, by the way. It's not an ad.
Yeah,
I'm
this
not
is
paid to
oh,
promote
yeah.
my books.
This is not an ad, but it's coming from someone who is very inspirational, someone who has a lot of expertise in the field for so many years. So I'm sure those books will really help people to
Yeah.
enhance their skills.
Yeah, and sometimes you need to work backwards from what you're looking for. Do you want to learn for an interview? Do you want to learn from a role? From that, you
Mm.
work backwards from why you want to learn AI. So
Mm.
suppose I want to learn AI because I want to be a data scientist. I will go and see the job requirements. What is exactly needed to be a data scientist?
Okay.
They need Python. Tech. Okay, I'll learn Python now. They need basics of machine learning. I will read Python basic machine learning now. I'm also teaching in Interview Kickstart as a mentor. So basically, Interview Kickstart train you in the field of AI, and for people transitioning into AI roles, they have pathways like PM pathway, SD pathway, and they have this
Mm.
whole curriculum. Yeah, I teach agent class.
Okay,
So it's a paid program,
can you
Interview
share
Kickstart.
the link as well?
So you can use Interview Kickstart where you can get enrolled and learn everything about AI, and they also help you with interview prep. There's a Slack channel, Discord channel, you can connect with people. Suppose you have a PM interview coming up, you'll say, hey, can somebody help me with this?
Yeah.
And there are a lot of PMs. They will jump in, help you with the prep, and they're all from FANG.
That's great. I'll put that link in there.
I'll share it with you.
Any life advice just from your lived experience of learning
Yeah, I mean,
and
I would
growing
say
in?
make mistakes and learn from your mistakes. Don't make the same mistake again.
Why do you say that?
Because then you've not learned anything.
Yeah.
If you make a mistake and make the same mistake, that means you have not made any progress. So that's what I learned from my life. I did make a lot of mistakes, but I really learned from it and grow as a person. Because when you realize, when you go deep within yourself and realize why you made that mistake and you correct that mistake, that is how you grow in life. Otherwise, it's like you're doing the same. You're foolish. It's fine to be foolish.
Yeah.
But for me, I like to learn from my mistake and grow as a person. Like it can be anything, suppose I said something to you you don't like. But what if I keep saying that thing to you? Would you like it? Will you still be my best friend?
I think I still will be, and I'll tell
No.
you when I stop doing this.
You'll stop picking my collar.
Yeah, unknown number, spam call. Right.
Yeah.
That's great advice. I have one last question that I remembered from the topic of interviewing. And
Go ahead.
when you're in your 20s, you're desperate to get your first job and you want to kind of nail it at your interview and answer all the questions. But let's say you're in an interview and you don't know the answer to something.
Yeah.
How should the candidate react and ace an interview while staying authentic and honest if they don't know something?
It's not my way. Based on the company, you need to know what they want to listen.
Okay.
You're interviewing for the company, not for yourself.
Interesting.
So check what they want to hear. For AWS, they want to hear your honesty. So for every company, like for Meta, they have different behavioral things they look for. Interview Kickstart also prepare you for every companies. So whatever FANG company you target, you should know exactly what they're looking to hear from you. Interview is a skill. It is not like who you are, what you know. It is about what the other person wants to listen.
And then
What the company wants to listen.
That's dependent on the company's culture.
Company's rubric.
Okay.
Company's culture, as well as every company has their criteria rubric through which they say, okay, this is making sense, because we all know same things. I'm not saying I'm super intelligent in this room or you are less intelligent than me.
Right.
It is about the person who is interviewing you and whether you're saying the right things according to the rubric.
Interesting.
You need to know for whom you're interviewing and what they want to listen.
Yeah, in Amazon and as an solutions architect, we are advised to, say you don't know.
Yeah.
Because as a solutions architect, you are helping customers make potentially millions of dollars of architecture-based decisions. If a customer asks you something on a meeting or a call, and if you don't know, you should say you don't know, but you'll find out. And that's what they're looking
If you don't know anything, just be honest and
Yeah.
say don't know rather than making up a guess.
Yeah.
Since I worked at Amazon for 4 years, it was so ingrained in me, in my brain.
You believed in it.
I believed that honesty is the best policy.
Interesting. So how do people find out if they're interviewing for this ahead of time? I know you said the interview, what was that called? The
Interview Kickstart.
interview. Is that where they can go to find out about scheduling like an one-on-one with someone who can prep them for an
Yeah.
interview and find out about the company's culture and things like that?
Yeah, I think they have all FANG instructors for
Okay.
PM roles. They don't have any solution architect class of family because
Right.
solution architect is a very niche
Yeah.
profile. Profiles are niche. But they do have a lot of PMs, product managers, TPMs
Got it.
from FANG.
Can you elaborate what is FANG for viewers who may not?
Basically, top 5 paying companies in the world.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Mona. Is there anything else you wanted to share?
Yeah, it's really nice doing this with you. It was fun. And I really enjoyed it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for your valuable time. I feel like we'll be doing something else in the future again.
Clothing, that's what
Yeah.
we. Yeah, I wanted to call out that,
Yeah.
just don't think that we are in AI space and we are just sticking to AI. Sometimes I also feel ashamed to say that I'm also a model and you are also a model. You represented Miss Canada. So those aspect of personality, because of the ageism or whatever you say, sexism in the place, I'm not able to flaunt that side of me.
Mm.
I do it as a hobby, but I
Yeah.
don't share it
Yeah.
professionally because somehow I feel I will be judged. I don't know whether you feel it. I just wanted to ask you this before
Yeah.
we.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean,
Yeah,
it's weird when I started pageantry a few years back,
yeah,
I would keep it hidden for sure, 100%
yeah.
because I thought, oh, like my coworkers wouldn't just think of me as like I thought they would think of me as shallow, right?
Exactly.
Like
Yeah,
doing modeling or
yeah.
something. But then, over time, now I'm like, now actually after competing in Miss Universe Canada and after seeing the level and the
Mm,
effort I had to put into it, Mona, it was
mm,
in some ways it was even tougher than working for Amazon. The amount of effort I had to put into my physical fitness, mental health, and the amount of mental stability you need to have
mm.
for that week, and then going on stage with your evening gown, swimwear, and interviews, and all of that stuff like takes such a toll on you that it makes you realize, why should I be ashamed of this? I'm actually proud of
Yeah,
this, right? And
yep.
like standing on that stage
Mm.
with all these contestants who are movie stars, some of the, they're big in their own craft.
This will change your perception at work. That's my question.
Will it change my perception at
Your perception by your managers, by your peers at work that you went for Miss Universe Canada. So do you think it's
Yeah,
going to change the perception of you as less
less
serious
confident.
about.
Yeah, to be
Yeah,
able to go out.
that's what I'm concerned about
So
with myself.
yeah, so the thing is that now because I feel so proud of my own self,
Yeah.
sharing that stage with other competent contestants,
Mhm.
to answer your question, I don't feel any more embarrassed or like I've shared with all my colleagues very proudly. It's almost like I had to be proud of myself and feel confident about that pride to
Yep.
then share it. And now I don't care what
Mm,
people think. I actually don't care because I'm
mm,
already proud of myself. Like few years back, I wasn't proud of myself because I
yeah.
wasn't sure what I was doing. So now I don't actually care. And if not in a bad way that I don't care, it's just that
Mhm.
I'm proud enough of myself that what other people think of me doesn't bother me. In fact, when I did share with my colleagues, they had a really positive response. They were like, "Oh my god, this is awesome. This is great." So I felt even more empowered because I
Yeah,
shared with my manager, I shared with some of my teammates, and
yeah,
everyone were kind of cheering me on. Like they knew the day I was competing and were texting me saying, "Hey Priyanka, good luck," and send us pictures. I also think I had a good manager and a good team.
sometimes I still don't feel comfortable, to be honest.
Yeah, and everyone has their journey of
Yeah.
evolution and how they view themselves and how much it matters that others view you in a certain way or not. I can totally understand because also we have come from a sort of intellectual background. We, did our education, masters, and all of that in STEM. For us, it's harder to think of beauty as equivalent to
Yes.
brains, right? Like,
Yeah.
and also for us to accept if we are
Yeah.
beautiful. I think
Yeah.
this is something as women, it's hard for women to accept that we are beautiful, right? Yeah.
I have been body shamed many times because of my weight. Yeah. So a woman came to me. I was presenting on agents
Mm.
in New York City in front of 100 customers. And this woman is like, "Oh, you're still expecting.
Oh
Congratulations."
my God. How did they
Yeah.
make you feel?
And I said, "No, I had a baby last year. I'm still fat."
That's your body. Yeah, just your
Yeah.
body.
It does make you question yourself. I stopped eating for a day and then I started eating next day because, it doesn't matter. I love myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
My body has expanded to produce a beautiful child. So
Yeah.
I am thankful, grateful to my
Yeah.
body. And yeah, I'm working on my health. I go work out. It will be slow, but I will lose the weight. But I just don't like it like as a woman, you
Yeah.
are body
Same.
shaming me.
Yeah. You know, I mean, two things. One is I think also competing in pageants, I realized that it's about fitness, it's not about shape. I know that you're working on your fitness journey, you go to the gym regularly. So that is wonderful. I'm not able to go as regularly as you. I don't know if I've ever told you this, but when you started modeling, is what inspired me to actually start modeling. So you actually like when you did that, I was like, maybe I could do it too, you know? So you actually inspired me.
Priyanka,
What?
you were always a model.
Hey, in your eyes, not in the world's eyes. You know that, right? That you inspired me, and I'm sure you inspired a lot of people in different ways. I still remember when you were doing your shoots and you used to post it on Instagram, and it was very inspiring to see because now in the world, there's not enough people who are modeling with
Yeah,
different body
especially
types.
a curvy size 12. For
That's very inspiring because even someone who is skinny like me, I was afraid to do modeling. So,
really?
yeah, it's about your inner self confidence, how confident you feel about yourself. It's not really about the external, it's really about internal. When I saw you do it, I was like, okay,
ये
maybe
मोटी कर सकती है तो मैं तो कर ही सकती हूँ.
I hope that the people who are listening can understand.
I hope that
I feel like we will be doing another episode. Let's look at the feedback that we get from this one and see. But I feel like we'll be doing another episode down the road. Mona, I know that it's late for you, so
yeah, we have a lot to talk.
a lot to talk about. So thank you.
If you invite me, the session will not
I
end.
feel like, yeah, I feel like this will just keep going, and then our audience is like, okay, you know what? When is it gonna stop? But yeah, hopefully you all enjoyed our conversation and got some insights on AI. If you want to learn more and know more about and hear some specific questions around AI, please feel free to drop it in the comments. And then I'll bring Mona again for future sessions and we can talk more about that. So once again, thank you so much, Mona, for your time today. Have a wonderful night.